Thank you all for coming. We hope there'll be more people joining us. I'm not actually going to moderate this session. I'm just going to introduce the three speakers for the evening and also share. I really wanted to hear this conversation taking place myself, but I just thought of extending that thought and bringing more people into the room. I'm really excited about what we're going to hear today. Because it's been something that we've been discussing in Maraa as well. So I'll just try and keep it very short and introduce everyone who will be speaking today. So first I would request you all, if you could put your phones on silent so that it doesn't disturb the speakers. I'll start with Lakshman. Lakshman is an actor, director, writer and teacher from Karnataka. He's worked with several theatre groups with various productions, many national and international theatre festivals in India. His recent production, Daklakata Devi Kavya, has gained popularity for bringing K.B. Siddhaya's poetry into contemporary context, travelling across different parts of Karnataka and various theatre festivals. He is also a published poet and an activist concerned about the marginalised people and culture of Indian society. Lakshman is also a dear friend, and we've been learning a lot from various different things that they've been working with at Jangama Collective. So I'm really happy that he agreed to be part of this conversation. Moving to the next speaker, V.L. Narasimhamurthy, who has been actively following the DSS movement in Karnataka and worked on a study on the Dalit movement and writings of Ambedkar. He's a passionate writer on cinema, theatre and cultural politics. He's an English professor in National College, Baswangudi. I was recently talking to a friend, Rumi, who was telling me about his contribution, especially because there is such a lack of critique and people who reflect critically on how things have changed over the years. And VLN's contribution is immensely very useful for people who might be just beginning their journey with it, or sometimes very confused with how certain events took place, what happened after that, how he manages to compare various different moments in history. And I think we are very lucky to have someone who could really put those things down for us in writing. And most of his work, he often shares it it's very accessible. It's in Kannada, it's on his Facebook post and also different publications that he writes for. Sorry, I suddenly got a cold. Just a sec. Okay. Moving to Yogesh. Yogesh, we recently met Yogesh through our friend Vinayak, who told us that he would be coming here to release his new book called Water in a Broken Pot, which everyone should buy. It's available now at Champaka and other bookstores shortly in Bangalore. I'm just going to introduce Yogesh. So Yogesh is a writer, poet, translator and publisher. He is the founder and editor of Panther's Paw publication that is dedicated to publishing literature by Dalit Bahujan writers in English and as translations from other Indian languages. He is the author of Flowers on the Grave of Caste, written in 2019, a collection of short stories, Singing, Thinking, Anti-Caste, which was published in 2021, and a book of essays on music and memories and Ambedkar, 2021, a book of prose poetry. So he is also, as I was saying, someone who's kind of taken the initiative to set up a publishing house called Panther's Paw. Some of the books which you can see on the table, and if you're interested, please do pick them up. But they're also available online, and it's also a way for us to kind of throw light on the different things that are being produced in the last 2-3 years. So we're very happy that he agreed to also participate in a conversation actually with other fellow practitioners. So when I was thinking about this conversation, I really feel like these are mostly thoughts and doubts in my own head. So I'm going to use my time actually to maybe ask them questions after they're done with the conversation. But we would really like you to use this time to share also and keep this like a more open, fluid space for discussion rather than a kind of panel discussion. So we're trying to avoid that. So hopefully we learn and we can speculate more on how we go on to do things. So I'm going to hand it over to Lakshman, who was also there at the launch, who basically, the poems, right. Yeah. We're going to start off with the poems. There are a few very beautiful poems that Yogesh has written which are there in the book. So we're going to start off with some poems, after which it will flow.
Hello everyone, I'm Jai Bhim, and thank you for coming. On 15th of April, we have launched Water in a Broken Pot, which is this book. It is my memoir, and this book is about cinema and books and literature and something called love. So these are the broader themes of this book, but poetry is also it's a cord which connects the elements which are portrayed in this book. So one of the lines in this book which I had written and which I did not know, I was thinking about it, but while writing as a process, you come in contact with a part of yourself which you don't know, and that you only know when you keep thinking and writing it out. So the act of writing is something, in the act of writing, yourself is being newly revealed to you. So I was thinking about my life, and I thought that poetry gave me the courage which people did not. So for me, the presence of this particular thing is that. So I would read some few couplets with which each chapter in this book open up. So basically these four-liners are a gist of my life or the particular moments, but let me read, and you can see how they are. So the first chapter starts with a couplet of a poem. So it's learning to see. The world I inherited, erased by the world I longed for, nothing remains but the evidence of me, a soldier, a battlefield, a war. So, a life of a Dalit person, be it a Dalit woman, Dalit man, or a transgender from the community, it's a curious position, because they are war, they are soldier, they are battlefield, and they are and we are also the casualties of our own wars. So that is the gist of these things. I would read two more, and then I can ask my friends Lakshman and VL to elaborate on their practices, and then I can also join in between. So yeah. From the second chapter is Lost and Lonely. It says, the poem is, my body is the poisonous flower, no one has ever dared to touch me. They did not know I am the door to the dream they killed mercilessly. So this is being a Dalit, thinking, reflecting about your past as an untouchable and what your ancestor must have gone through. So yeah. So this is what I think about myself. Despite all the categories, all the identities we attach to ourselves or people force onto ourselves, but this is not we are. From where I can see, look at my life, and it is I am the sun, I follow my wild instinct of the light, on the light's path through darkness. I am the sun, I follow my wild instinct on the light's path through darkness. I am a wounded deer preyed upon by its own footprint. I am a beautiful flower blooming in the wilderness. So, so this is basically a summary of the chapter which are followed by. So these are some reflection which came to me while I was writing this book. So I think there is a curiosity, and I want to ask my friend Lakshman and also we all through their position that we speak different languages, but we are shaped by one particular experience, and that experience is how the caste Hindu society or the caste society treated us. That is, I think, because we speak different languages, so we can't immediately communicate with each other through languages or through various other means. But I think what connects us is that experience. So how, Lakshman, that experience of of that particular thing is an essential element in the art you practice?
Yeah. So I started reading Yogesh's book from last 2 days. There are a few lines that I want to mention and elaborate on that. I think I see these things as a common thread that travels, the few things. He talks about wounds a lot in his poetry and even in his book. He mentions this might be my father's first wound. He mentions another incident, says this might be second wound. And then he talks about this lovelessness. What is that? Yeah, lovelessness. And he also, this line, it really, I could resonate with this so much. Probably I'm yet to develop a language to understand him. He's talking about his father. So in art or in theater, there are two things for me. I want to understand myself. So understanding myself is not like some spiritual question like Jiddu Krishnamurthy and asks and all this. Nothing like that. So it's a very real question. Who am I? I don't know how to understand this Dalit identity. And if I start to enter through alphabets or written word, I don't get much. There's nothing much that is written on my father or my grandfather or my mother. Nothing there. But my father has a body and my mother has a body and I have my body. And he also talks about my father is a wound, I am the scar. So if I think Dalit as a whole, one body, I need to understand the wounds that are there through arts, through their stories. So for me, I cannot trust these words so much. They are very new to me. This is what K.V. Siddhaya also, in Daklakatha, he also mentions the same thing. How can I trust it so much? Then how should I understand these people and these stories? That's where I start my practice, to understand really. To explain myself to other, who don't belong to my community is a different thing altogether. That is it's a most tiring job ever. You cannot really explain. It's very difficult to explain. I see that helplessness in this writing also, and I feel that helplessness in when I'm creating a work, when I'm performing something like that. Yeah, so we need more tools. I cannot really fully reject letters or words and all something like that, but I cannot really depend on that. That's where I need performance, I need songs, I need stories, I need many other things to express. Painting and music, many things. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think I also would like to, because what Lakshman was saying, that this is a recurrent element throughout the book, because I think before when we get into academic spaces, when we start acquiring this particular language, the language which gives us this badge of intellectuals, and when we start talking about justice, liberty, this and that, I think it took me a lot of years to understand that before addressing to all these, the big things, we also need to address the small things within us, because if we are not empowered as somebody who wants to fight for the bigger thing, then that battle itself will be a weak battle. So we cannot afford to, I remember when Baba Sahib used to say that that I can, the liberation, the struggle for liberation can also be something immediate, and also but even to be a soldier, your hand needs to be strong to hold a weapon. So for our movement, that hand where in which we hold the weapon to fight is the mind. So what is that, the state of that mind, right? So I think we are like you as an educator, as a writer also, as somebody who understand culture, literature, and also cultural politics at the root, and also an educator, because it's a unique position, because I understand that a person who coming from this background is always restless, and that restlessness is like instinctive, right? But for an educator, you need to be very patient, because you have a lot of minds to deal with, right? So how do you how do you address this the issue of the anxiety, we as a person and also as an educator, because this is a unique position. Also the position of an educator in India is historically we know that they discouraged us from learning or exploring our mind, right? But you come from a community where you had the experience as a child, but now do you try to alter this position so that you can encourage more and more people to explore their mind without any restrictions and all? I don't know if the question is proper, but you can speak something on this line.
No, I will try to. It's a very difficult question for me actually, because I am also a learner in my working space. I am learning so many things from my students, especially those students who come from social backgrounds like us. And one more important question is, now we have reached a certain point, it seems, because earlier our first generation educated, so education itself is they used to struggle to get educated, but now in more or less some percentage, we have some percentage of educated peoples in our community, but still education institutions still they remain agraharas. Okay, so once we realize that we are working in, or we are studying in that kind of spaces, even I get anxiety. Okay, when I enter this room, I immediately get anxiety. It's like IIT IIM for me. It looked like IIT IIM for me. So I can't imagine myself in IIT or IIM. So, but what about our students? Okay. So, but I have realized that we have to be here, and we have to fight back. Okay. Through education, we should fight back through education. We should get educated amidst all these difficulties. So we have to overcome that anxiety. Okay, that's why I unlearn so many things. Okay, I unlearn so many things, and I feel very happy to be in a teaching profession, because I know so many things about my community people. So what should I do I have realized that I can do something for my students, okay, especially those who come from socially marginalized sections.
So, like some, just like VL was saying about the education and all. I was a part of one premier elite, one of the elite institutions in India, like so-called. While writing this book, I did not know whether I was learning something out of those campuses, the colleges, wherever I had been, or whichever institution I had been. But I was thinking about what is education in India, what's its position, and I came up with this line that education, education deinstitutionalizes a man. So for me, the idea of education become that I need to interrogate whoever I was, not only as a Dalit person, but each of us. Because we are institutionalized. So in order to be an anti-caste, I need to interrogate what my family taught me. I need to interrogate what I learnt in school. I need to interrogate what my people, like friends or the peer groups or my caste people are saying. Because we are institutionalized, right? And then one day we go to university and we start becoming liberals, wokes, and this and that, right? I mean, we start talking about lot of other things, whereas we don't talk about our caste realities anymore. So these are the things, I mean, I think these are the uncanny things with which we live every day in India as a caste society. Not only we, but all of us, across various castes. So I think, Lakshman, this uncanniness, people tend to ask, I'm not saying I had spent a lot of times in programs and doing this and that and addressing the questions of people, but people always has question, and that is a good thing. But I find it very difficult to answer, most of the time, because I don't have answer. It's a vast, complex reality. We are psychologically terrorized people in caste society. If we start observing our own body language when we meet somebody from the other caste, we can be our own research project. So that is, and research is the word I really started hitting lately, because it's very problematic in India, research. So what you are researching, so you have already forgotten who you are. You avoid to talk who you are. You never discuss, you never interrogate your caste histories, privileges, this and that. And then we start researching on decolonization, we start researching on this music, that music, we start researching on Dalit lives, we start researching on Dalit patriarchy, and so on and so forth. We have never researched ourselves. And that is the agency with which we go. A lot of Savarnas go to foreign universities, and there also they do research. I don't know why, because if you're doing research for centuries, for hundreds of years, at least for 100 years, Savarnas are going to foreign universities, and they still they keep talking about the same thing again and again with the trends in changing the language. They don't talk anything new. They write a language differently. I mean, this is my observation. It can be refuted, it can be challenged, and I'm ready to do that. But Lakshman, this language, it's there is another program here, it's called decolonization. How can we decolonize the Western music? What is your problem? Let them have their own music. You talk about your own music, you have erased musical tradition of your own linguistic states. You don't talk about the music. Let's forget the music. You don't talk about who is the producer of the musical instruments. That the producer of the musical instrument is the first musician. Because you can't just make an instrument. You need to understand the sound, the rhythm and everything. Then only you make. So these are the Dalit Bhojan people who are the real and the original musicians from this country. So also music is a performing art, Lakshman. And also because I am sitting here because I tried to learn some English, you know. Because I was colonized. I had desired to be colonized. That is why I am sitting here. Otherwise, I wouldn't be sitting with my friend. Otherwise, my poetry won't be translated in Kannada. Otherwise, we won't be exchanging. He won't be liking my status, right? So, Dalit Bahujans were actually like to speak, as a matter of fact, were benefited by this element of education, English education. So, whenever I hear decolonization, I'm like, it's shocking, right? I mean, so who is leading this project? So, in your performing art, like how these things like our history, the local history, and all these things, like, I mean, what are the developments here, and also like, you know, like, I mean, what do you think about it? Because these are the recurrent themes and things are happening in front of us.
When we think of performance, you're talking about education, right? We have syllabus, pedagogy and all that. If you think of cultural pedagogy in India, it's like everybody knows, like this word is so famous now, Brahminical, fully, like literally. The moment if you want to do art, you have to do like ನಿಮ್ಮ ನಾಟಕ ಅಥವಾ ಇನ್ನೇನಾದರೂ ಅದನ್ನು ಅಂದರೆ ಹಿಂಗೆ ಒಪ್ಪಿತವಾದ ಒಂದು ಎಸ್ಥೆಟಿಕ್ಸ್ನಲ್ಲೇ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾಗತ್ತೆ. ಯು ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಟು ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ದಟ್ ಲೈಕ್ ಎಸ್ಥೆಟಿಕ್ಸ್ ವೇರ್ ಯು ರಿಯಲಿ ಯುನೋ ಅದೇ ಅಂದರೆ ಅದು ಹೆಂಗಿರಬೇಕು ಅಂತಂದರೆ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿರಬೇಕು, ಕ್ಲೀನಾಗಿರಬೇಕು, ಮತ್ತು ನೋಡೋಕ್ಕೆ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿರಬೇಕು, ಎಸ್ಥೆಟಿಕಲಿ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿರಬೇಕು, ಒಳ್ಳೊಳ್ಳೆ. ಆಮೇಲೆ ಪೊಯಿಟ್ರಿ ಬರೆದ್ರು ಅಷ್ಟೇ, ಪದ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿರಬೇಕು, ಭಾಷೆ ಎಲ್ರಿಗೂ ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗೋ ಥರ ಇರಬೇಕು. ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಥಿಂಗ್ that we should make it. See, that is the biggest problem that I have. So to make sure that somebody understands you, like why should I, why should I, and the thing is, see, people think Dalit as a product that they want to understand, and they want to research around it because they think it Dalit as a problem, that it's a mathematical, you know, some integration differentiation problem that they cannot solve. No, it is not like that. It is not at all like that. And the moment they don't see it as a problem, then they cannot research, they cannot argue around it, they cannot build theories around it. But what I really think, what I really feel is, can we look at it, Dalit culture or whatever, as something that is evolving? It has a life, and that is like that. You know, instead of looking at it like a problem. That is where, no, like Rohit Vemula writes, like what is that? Like in his letter, he says that identity reduced into number, to a vote, to a thing. It is there constantly. It is there constantly. And like to the moment you reject that I don't want you to understand me, just be like that. If I start to say that, then it is not idea ಇದೆಯಲ್ಲ, ಏನದು ಒಂದು ಎಸ್ಥೆಟಿಕ್ಸ್ನ ಚಕ್ರ ಅಥವಾ ಮಂಡಲ ಅದೇನೋ ಇದೆಯಲ್ಲ, ಆ ಮಂಡಲದೊಳಗಡೆ ಸಿಕ್ಕಾಕಣಲ್ಲ, ದೆನ್ ಅದು ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್ ಆಗೋಗುತ್ತೆ. ಅಂದರೆ ಯಾರಿಗೆ ಅರ್ಥ ಮಾಡ್ಸೋಕ್ಕೆ, ಏನಕ್ಕೆ ಅರ್ಥ ಮಾಡ್ಸೋಕ್ಕೆ ಅನ್ನೋ ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್ ಇದೆಯಲ್ಲ, ಅದು ಐ ಸಿ ಇಟ್ ಪ್ರತಿ ಸರಿ ಪ್ರತಿ ನಾಟಕ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾದ್ರೂ, ಪ್ರತಿ ಬರವಣಿಗೆನಲ್ಲೂ ಐ ಸಿ ದ್ಯಾಟ್, ಅರ್ಥ ಮಾಡಿಸೋದು. ಸಿ, we are here for so long, for so many years. You are struggling to understand. Like that's a joke. It's a joke that we are still trying to understand. Yeah.
Language.
Language, performance, whatever.
Okay. So language is a, greatest weapon. Okay. the so-called casteist or whatever you say, Brahminical or something like that. So they have this, most powerful weapon in their hand, and they try to, use that weapon to destroy, to curb our, socially marginalized students in higher education institutions. And, Yogesh was mentioning about decolonization, institutionalization and this, the decolonization. They are decolonizing our minds through colonizers, in colonizers' language. Okay, so we have to understand this. I have a very, bad experience in my personal life when it comes to universities and research. So I joined, a public university as a research scholar, in 2015, and I was very, active researchers for more than 4 years. And what I did in those 4 years was, so I tried to prove myself to my research guide. I tried to prove myself that I am, capable of, being a researcher. Okay, my guide and my department never asked me, how do you think, what do you think, what's in your mind, or what's your, or what about your research, or no, there was no such questions. So all they wanted from me is, all they expected from me is that, you must, learn to write English, properly. You must learn to write, you must learn to speak English properly. And so you, believe or not, okay, when I was in research, I was in, research, or I was, until then I was in university, I could not write a single word, even in Kannada. Because, so they injected in me, something like that. So you can't write, you can't able to express. And so I stopped my research and I started writing in Kannada. Then I started expressing myself in Kannada. Now I know I am writing in Kannada and I can express myself in Kannada in a very subtle way. I hope one day I will express in English also. I'll try to. So this is a just one example. Okay, so most of the Indian universities, the two elite universities are like that. Okay, socially marginalized, students are trying to prove themselves that they are capable of, being researchers or being, higher education graduates or something like that.
Yeah, with the big institutions that we have, like theatre schools in India, the moment you enter to these theatre institutes, you need to learn how to chant a mantra. Why should I do that? I constantly have to chant this Angikam Bhonam Yasya, which I never relate to. This is another kind of terrorism that's happening. Why should I do that? And the moment, and you have to see already why I started doing theatre, because I thought they will feed me well 3 times a day, which was not happening at home. Okay, then having this weak body, you have to hold a gesture for 20 minutes. Why should I hold that gesture or a posture? It's a torture, physically, mentally, in all these things. And how to, again, the Yogesh sir mentions in this book, he gets into this school, he's a converted Buddhist Mahar, and he has to chant this Gayatri mantra in his school. Isn't it an attack? It's an attack. Why should I do that? And since we are so rich in our culture with pare, with are, with songs, sobane, many things, the moment I enter to these institutes, I have to forget all these things, start to chant these mantras, and do yoga, do something else, which I never relate to. Because we are told that is what is called culture, not this. even till today, like we have lots of oral tradition in Karnataka, like Manteswami Kavya, Junjapan Kavya, Malemadappan Kavya, all these things. They are not part of cultural pedagogy of any institutes. Not yet. Like this is the scene of cultural institutions in India. Everywhere. So like in academics it's like that, in cultural institutions it's like this. Yeah.
I think what VL was saying about how, during his 4 years, he was not asked, like, what does he think? What is his opinion? And what Lakshman was saying, that just for the simple thing, he joined theater, but there also he experienced this repulsiveness of basically indoctrinating somebody. So we can basically in nutshell see that, like, we can observe by these two really, I mean, I'm from a different state, I come from a different language, my emotion, my feelings are shaped by the sound of that particular language, the geopolitics of that, the culture of that. But here we are on the same page, that we all feel that when we went to these institutions in India, the so-called academic institution, the institution which tend to make you more curious about thinking, make you more curious about exploring the things of your choice, these institutions discourage you first. But then they selectively discourage. They don't discourage everybody. They discourage some and they encourage some. So they put somebody on the first line, first row, and they put somebody on the last line. Now, for generations, if you are aware of little bit of data, the statistics of school dropouts, why Dalit students, like let us say 3 of us are sitting here, we are few, our number is in millions, but we are few example. So somebody can like easily make an observation that now we can sit in the, we can give lecture and do panel discussions, our voice has been heard. No. As compared to our community, we are nothing. And for us to reaching it, it took generations. So whenever I used to ask my father that you are a failure, you got a chance because of your generation. Some people from your generation, because of Baba Sahib, they got courage and fire, opportunity to go to school and learn and then get better jobs. He said that we used to go to school, but the teacher used to beat us up. Teacher used to always put us behind. So that discouragement, that simple, because school discourages few selectives. So because that was an assault on his young mind, he was the Dalit student like him felt that like if we go to school, what we get is punishment, what we get is discouragement. So and this is the reality of millions of people, of our people. Some of us, they were very they stood firm, so they came to college, then universities. They did good job, they joined, and their descendants also then progress gradually. But this discouragement is the story of being discouraged by the institution, is the story of millions of people among us from the last previous generation. And now today, like we know that in every state, I'm sure that government aided schools are being shut. So, like in criminology, there is a theory that when education, like so-called, like when less and less people are unlettered, the graph of crime increases. So in maybe, we are seeing already that now, but maybe down the 10 years down the line, 20 years down the line, like, I mean, it become normal, that violence will become normal. So, this is the state of affairs here. Like we killed a lot. I mean, when it comes to our lives, it's not easy to navigate here every day. It's not that simple. So if somebody is able to write one book, somebody able to basically perform with his existence into that, with somebody among us like who is a teacher and who teaches somebody across caste and different, and who has to, who is somebody who is not treated equal, but who has to, because he has the vision of Baba Sahib, he has to carry that forward, has to look at everybody equally. It becomes a great challenge for us. So for us, from various positions, doing our simple things, like let us say writing, performing or teaching, it's not simple as people think, because we are shaped by different histories. So I think, this is what I gather from my friends, experiences. And you can share more about it, like if you have, or yeah. So I think VL could.
ಯಾ ದಲಿತ್ ಮೂವ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಮತ್ತು ಆ್ಯಕ್ಟಿವಿಸಮ್ ಕುರಿತಂಗೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿವರೆಗೂ ಅದನ್ನು ಹೇಳ್ಬೋದು ಅನ್ನೋದಾದರೆ, ಅಂದರೆ ಅದರ ಈ ರೀತಿ ಆ್ಯಕ್ಟಿವಿಸಮ್ನ ಟ್ರೇಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ನಾವು ದಲಿತ್ ಮೂವ್ಮೆಂಟ್ಗೆ ಹೋದರೆ ಏನನ್ನು ಕಾಣ್ಬೋದು ಆ ಥ್ರೆಡ್ಡಲ್ಲಿ ಅಂತ. ಅಂದರೆ ದೇವರ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ರೈಟರ್ಸ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ performers and all that, and we are also writers and all this. If we trace this journey, how was it then and what has changed now? Yeah.
There is a history about Dalit movement in Karnataka. Okay, it's available in so many books and in articles. Anyway, in that book, in this book, Still Nibs are Sprouting. So they have written a long introduction about Dalit movement in Karnataka. See, what I have observed, or what I have learnt, or what I have listened from my senior activists is that, Karnataka's Dalit movement is, totally different from other parts of, India. So if we compare DSS to Dalit Panthers or some other Dalit movements in other states, it is, I think it is not, 100% Ambedkarite movement. Okay, if we look at it back now, so it was a mixture of, Marxism, it was a mixture of Lohiite socialism, and it was a mixture of Ambedkarism. So like that. We have a, cultural history of 1970s in our state. Okay, so there was this Shudra, writers movement in Mysore. So it was came out against Navya movement of Kannada, modernist literary movement of Karnataka, and most of the writers were influenced by Lohia and socialism. Okay, and they formed this organization called Barahagarara Okkuta, and they organized a conference of Jati Vinash Sammelana in Mysore. So most of the senior Dalit writers were, participated in those two events. And there was this organization called Samajwadi Yojana Sabha, and writers like Devnur Mahadeva and our leaders like B. Krishnappa and Indudar Vannapura, Ramdev Rake, Sridhar Kalivira, and so many Dalit writers were active in that particular movement. So after Bhusa movement, these writers realized that these, organization, a socialist organization, is not vocal about, our Dalit question, Dalit problems. That's why they formed Dalekaism, Dalit writers and artist movement in 1970s, and they started this organization, DSS, in 1977, it seems. I forgot the exact date. So after, they have fought, so many fights. They have, organized so many, movements against establishment and against, caste atrocities, and especially land race and all those things. See what happened, what happened to Dalit movement after the 1990s, I think, after, Mandal and all that, and every movement has its, valid years for very few days. Even Dalit Panthers, split within 3 years of its establishment. But Dalit movement was so active for more than 20-25 years in Karnataka. There were no fractions and no other organization in Karnataka. But see, it happens to every social movement. That too, when it comes to Dalit movement, identity politics started during 90s, and there were so many internal issues between Dalit movement. So BSP entered into Karnataka, and one faction of DSS movement went with BSP. See, I don't want to post-mortem, or I don't want to discuss the internal things of DSS with others. It's an internal issue between DSS and Dalit communities. See, Dalit movement has fought against caste atrocities. It raised question, land question, okay, and it raised education related questions, which were useful to the whole community. Okay, if a Dalit movement fight against caste, it is not only for Dalits. Caste is not a question of Dalits. First of all, it's a question of caste people. Okay, if Dalits are fighting against caste, means they are fighting against. They are fighting for the whole society. So in that way, Dalit movement has done a lot of good work in Karnataka. So now there are so many factions, like in any other social movement. Communists have more than 100 factions, but nobody talks about their internal problems at all. Okay, others have. Every social movement has their own problems. Even women's movement has so many fractions. There are so many internal problems. There are so many questions. But nobody talks about others' movement. Everybody talks about Dalit movement. Why this movement, is fragmented? Why there are so many, fractions in Dalit movement and all? Why some people are going with BJP? See, these are all very unimportant questions. It seems.
Yeah, but will I gather one thing from your experience with cultural movement here in Karnataka, and I can connect to that with my readings, my observation, or my experience with our movement in Maharashtra, and also understanding our movements in various parts of in caste society in our country, is that like we are the most democratic people here, and if you trace from where the first critique to democracy came in India is by the Savarna people. So it is they who fail the democracy. Democracy is not something like it needs people, right? If it is failing, it is because of the people. So in electoral politics, the bureaucracy, the culture industry, everything is dominated by them. The politics which is being produced, the culture which is being produced, the language which is being produced in this country is the Savarna thing. And anything which is Savarna is anti-democracy, right? And these are the people, like when we are talking about art and languages and how they indoctrinate you, it is because of that. They are the reason for the failure, and they are someone who, nag about it, that it is failing, it is not working, it doesn't work here, especially far left and all these things, right? But our previous generations, they struggle really hard on Baba Sahib's vision, and we can see that you don't need to be angry or violent to bring changes here. Changes would take some time, you don't have to be overtly anxious to bring them, right? Because if caste society has succeeded in internalizing your own operation, and you can't see that, especially the middle intermediate caste, they internalized it, let us say like there are intermediate caste who are also oppressed by the caste above them, but if something, the Dalit atrocity happens, they never talk about it. They never talk about it as a community. It is we who fight it, right? It is we who also join if something happens with the other community, because that is injustice. So we relate to the other people because we also share the same experiences. But caste society made them think that it's okay, like if you are being oppressed, but you have somebody also to look down upon. So feel good that Dalits are there, like you are intermediate caste, and Dalits are inferior to you. So they feel good that we are superior to them. And at the same time, they are being, they are being oppressed in various ways by the. So this is the uniqueness of caste. So the changes won't come here in day or two. It would take centuries, right? I think, and this is what our movements in various states, like DSS here or Dalit Panther. We were doing so many things at the same time. We were educating ourselves like academically, later wise. We were writing also, we were fighting also, and we were producing also. And at the same time, some of us were also being killed at the same time. So for us, it was a unique position to be in, very, very much unique position. And then there are critiques about Dalit movement comes from the left, right? Come from the centrist perspective and all other things. So these are, I think, how do we add, we need to, through our writings, through our pedagogical, through our pedagogies, through our arts, if we are trying to, address to these issues, it is a big deal, right? And I mean, and I don't think so that whenever we come, we go to some places, some events, like as a speaker or as a listener or something. So in whatever seminars or programs I went there, I never went there that I will learn something. I know that they are as stupid as me. They are a product of the caste society. They can't just have a just doing PhD. They can have just this is such a complex society, right? This is a complex society, right? Very much complex. They made our psychology also very complex. We are scared people. We are scared not within our caste, but as soon as we steps out of it. So that's how we are made to fear other human being. That is the cruelest thing the caste has done. So, but today we are here talking about on the occasion of Dalit History Month, Baba Saheb's birthdays and Phule's. And we need to basically we need to connect with a lot of things, a lot of people with our arts. That what we are doing. I mean, that is what we do as a society. We are not Savarnas. We are not the community which hides. We believe in talking. We believe in dialogue, right? And we believe in dialogue anywhere. Today we are sitting here with full AC, full on and all comfortable, but we also go to our different places and we talk there.
We will be more comfortable sitting outside.
Exactly, and I think we all of us also need to go to these places to understand this perspective, right? So I mean, that is a big our responsibility as a society. So yeah, I mean, you want to share something on this, Lakshman? Or should we, you want to share more about, you want to talk something about, anything related to this? You want to speak more? Or we can.
So we would like to hear from you about your publication and all those things. We forget that. Because we have very less number of publications run by Dalits, and you have been publishing. You are a writer and a publisher. Okay, you are publishing other writers' works, whether it is in English or in English translation. And I have been observing you from last few years. So many times your publication will be in trouble. Financial trouble. That's the biggest challenge before us, because we don't have any capitals. We don't have social capital, and we don't have economical capital. Okay, So how it is? How is it for you? How you are, trying to publish books?
Yeah, it's true that that was the background like with which I was started. But there is a desire to talk. There is a desire to visible. We basically like I grew up in a Dalit basti where a lot of things were like very naked. Like we don't have to bother about it. So we have seen a lot of drunkards like openly cursing, and also as a child like we grew up learning all the those firebrand curses. So it just like everybody knows what is happening, so that was the that is the one thing, how it, when it comes to communication, how this background matters. You want to talk and you don't feel restricted, because I had seen people who never thought holding themselves back from talking, whether it's a word of love or whether it's a word of hate, right? Or whether it's the word of anger. So there was a desire, when I went to institutions and all, and I found that the people who are so real, people who really believe in talking, in talking like a human being, in talking organically, spontaneously, they are never visible in our national imagination. They were there only as a victim. I said, we are not like, I grew up in a basti where we were empowered in a sense, we were also empowered physically, physically and in muscle wise also. So that inferiority, that rather than inferiority, I developed arrogance in me. So a lot of students in my when I went to university, they call me arrogant. I said, yeah, I'm very much arrogant. So you need to better and also they used to talk me cautiously, because that arrogance is, I later on realized it's part of my life, and it's important, because by this arrogance, whatever the meaning of that arrogance is there in the dictionary, I have different meaning. That arrogance is something I need to have, because the moment I lose it, I will be prone to be indoctrinated. That arrogance gives me a space to think whatever I hear from Savarna Sotari. Otherwise, I will be, whatever they are reading, okay, like this is this. There is no anxiety in me to learn if they are talking right or wrong, or if they are manipulating things. So that arrogance is very much important, and it also develops into the confidence. If you have understood the body language of Dalit characters in movies you have seen, or the visual whatever you have seen, it's the body language of somebody who doesn't have this. So I need to be opposite to that. I need to be opposite to that. So I have seen, like we have seen in the picture where in some of the movie there were characters like that. So I was like, no, I haven't. I seen my people were like violent. They used to do things in the violent as in what do you say? Straightforward. Violent as in like, if they are attacked, they are well equipped to answer to that. So because caste society kills you in two ways, like it kills you physically, where they know that you can't defend yourself, and when they know that you can defend yourself, they gradually kill you psychologically. So institutional murders of Dalit students are the product of second category. And wherever you see the caste atrocities from villages and all, because these people are like little less powerless, they don't have resources, they're economically dependent on them. So they can easily kill them in groups and all. So there was a desire to talk, to share story of my people as heroes, and which we are. So I was like, whatever books they are producing, we can't ask people or tell in democracy not to publish such kind of book. I'm saying like, they will keep publishing, they will have resources. But we need to start from somewhere to at least start producing our story from our position, from our experiences, and whatever they are. So I started Panthers for publication in 2016. While I was in TISS, Tata Institute of Social Sciences, Bombay, and I knew nothing about publication, but publication is not rocket science. It's a simple thing, but it's a risk also. It's a risk for so many people, because it doesn't actually give you money. Like, it's risk, because if we if all of us think that how many books we buy in a year, or how, as compared to how many clothes we get, or how many pizzas we eat, or how many outings we did, and we calculate like the money we spend on books is like remarkably so less, which means that we are not the society. We are the society of consumers who consumes material things more than anything else, right? If we invest in making ourselves better as a human being, we would be investing more in our cultural practices, right? So our people would not need to join theater just to like think as a child that we get food. That is the reason also a lot of midday children from Adivasi Padas and Dalit Bhojan Bastis in villages, they go to school because they get food, right? Food is what life, it's life, right? So you are deprived of that. So just for the simple thing, you accidentally go there. I accidentally went to publication. But as soon as I realized, as soon as I am sure that Lakshman also realized that the potential of that art can do, like what they do, he can do something else. He can actually demolish, deconstruct that thing, right? So we also understand that institutions, art institutions, academic institutions from which the intellectual production is being done are always in their hand, and they have shaped it in their way. Now we need to also go there, participate, and fight our battle, right? So that is also one of the reasons that I thought, let's start publishing maybe less book, but continue with that. So I started, the only thing we had are people, right? And I thought, like, let's ask people money to publish the book. We can give them book in return. I mean, that is how I can repay. So that is the only thing I knew about, like, when I came to started publishing it. But we managed to publish 16 books now. 2 books will be published this month. And with each book, I was discovering new people, and especially people from the Savarna community. Because this is a language of whose capital they have less than us, because we are in number, but they are practicing this language for generations, like at least 1.5 century, right? So they are the first consumers or the readers of the most of our books. And that is obvious, right? That is very obvious. So for me, there is a simple thing that you give medicine to people who is sick, right? So our narrative is for the people, like, basically, like, why would somebody from my basti want to read my, bhai, pata hai, like, I know their story and you know my story. Why, you read, who needs to read the book is also very important. And not all books we read change us, right? Some books, which tend to unsettle, they are the books we need to read. Because I know, like, being in publishing for 7-8 years now, as in various capacities, I know, like, who reads book for what and what kind of books. And also, even I know that not all books, so I am very selective about which book I need to read, because there are so many books in the world, and even though I'm in the position to buy lot of them, but I don't need basically to read all of them, because some of the books will take a week, a month, and I would basically be not being better version of myself. I may be the stupidest version of myself after reading that book again. So I need to be very political when it comes to defining my reading list, So
we will be more specific.
Yeah. So also as a reader, recently for last 4 years or 3 years, basically, I started also investing myself. I was also in the fascination of this language, English, and just like my friend VL, like, I did not read any single book from Marathi. I was also like that. I read all these things. I mean, the Charles Dickens from, all that Victorian to this, and also Savarna writers who are famous, like famous Savarna writers who are English writers from India. But recently, I believe that like they made me a very different person. They basically alienated me from my roots. I started then through my friends and all, like I started reading English translations of Dalit Bahujan stories from the other states. So let us say some Malayali book is translated in English, or some Kannada books of Dalit Bahujan writer translated, or Tamil book, because I need to understand first my own reality as a whole. Then only I can address this question in an honest way. Otherwise, if I don't know myself well, so I wouldn't be addressing anything else in an honest manner. So, and they basically changed me. Like the last year, I have read Pule Tara, like one of the first Malayali Dalit writer, Paul Chirakonde, published in 1960 and recently translated. Now I can't read Malayalam, but I have read the English translation which came 2 years back, and this book gave me a different perspective about, not only different, but very fresh, unique, about the life of my people there, the role of Christianity and the role of religion, and the angst. So the angst, I always feel I don't need to even think for a while that why this person is angry about these particular small things. So these are the stories which basically informed my, or basically helped me grow more intellectually. And because we in India, it's an uncanny thing that we never talk about de-Brahminization. We talk about decolonization. So I think we as a intellectuals still lack so much behind. So like we can open up for the Ekta. We can open up for the questions.
I have one more question.
Yeah, please.
Ekta, sorry, one question. See, so you mentioned few things about, what is that? I forgot that word. So while you were talking, you were mentioning so many things about, how upper caste society expects from us, or how we perceive, society. See, there is this question of inclusivity, which is the biggest challenge for us. Okay, so especially for me and Lakshman in Kannada and a cultural atmosphere, they branded us like, these guys are not inclusive. Okay, these guys are not inclusive. Especially, see, I have faced this question so many times. Why can't be, so little inclusive like that? See, the society, it excluded us from the mainstream, and it is expecting us to be, inclusive, to be inclusive. So how do you look at this?
Yeah, I think this is expecting inclusivity from the person who was excluded, and it is the same person who excluded expecting now that the person who was excluded should practice inclusivity, right? So this is the trap. Every time you go to school, institution, or especially in academia, they create for you. And then when we try to engage with that, we go deeper and deeper into that. I realize one thing, that never engage with anything which Savarna creates or talks about it. You engage with your priorities first. What do you want now? Acha, you want these things? Okay, you put your energy into getting that thing. You want degree? Is your mood? Go. Whatever they say, you finish that first. You want to get job first? Do it uninterrupted. Don't think about what other people are saying. So, this is the thing, because these are the traps. We don't create, right? We know how inclusive we are. If they come to our basti, even if we want, they don't come. They It's a physical segregation also, the mental segregation. You see in the whatever books they write, like where we are, whatever art they produce, where we are, right? Now because we are struggling for so many years, and after social media, like they can't, basically, they can censor us, surveil us, but they can actually stop us from actually even writing 2 lines against them. The market of anti-caste narrative has grown, and these people, I mean, that is one of the reasons also we are sitting in this place, right? It is not because like we expected this from somebody. Like our audience is in 1,000, in 100. If you go to Dalit Basti, like maybe like 100 people will not be interested, but 200 people will come. They'll just come and, I mean, they'll just come and sit there, right? Maybe like 10 people will buy book, right? Maybe 5 people will have capacity to buy book, but that is okay, but they will come. So we have numbers. So this number is like, it's just very curious thing, because across the world, whenever oppressed communities start talking and you can't stop them. For an example, rap, jazz, blues, right? The Western music is now the black music in every genre. Black rappers are billionaires now. So, but because Western country, they are brutal capitalists, they benefited, oppressed communities also benefit if their art is in a huge way. This is a very complex society. So they have said, like, if you're a Dalit writer or this and that, they already have planned, because the Savarnas are very good in plannings. I need to confess that they are very good in plannings. They wait for decades to come in rule, and once they come in rule for few years, no, they make sure that you must cry. You must cry buying cylinder, filling petrol, now paying money for GPay transactions. They make sure, they wait for, say, decades. They wait because they are small in number. They don't need to do like all these things. They work. They do. So this is the thing. So I mean, what you were saying? Inclusivity. Yeah. So it's very uncanny. Like we need to ask ourselves. We don't need to expect any great answers from me or VL or Lakshmana, because how inclusive we are. Who are our friends? Who are our peer groups with whom we sit every day or drink or eat? Which caste or where we marry? Or which are the physical spaces in which we navigate every day? We will get the answer. Who is inclusive and who is this one, right? So that was a small thing about inclusive. We can open up for the year. Yeah, we should be inclusive, Lakshman is saying.
I am teaching in Mount Carmel. I met Yogesh. My daughter has read 2 of your books. I have also read many of your articles. And I wanted to ask her, not ask actually. You see, I have a son who has autism. Okay. So after he was born and diagnosed with autism, some people told me, this is because of your sins or his sins in the past life. I have heard similar things, and I was thinking about your experience. Have you come across people saying things like that to you? What is your reaction?
Like after 1956, like our ancestors, like my forefathers, they converted to Buddhism. And after that, in our life, sin as a vocabulary, like pap, we call him, in Marathi also we call pap. It didn't come. So I was not, if somebody's, I lived in a basti, like, which is Dalit basti, and I grew up there largely. So this part of, I understand that this is one of the thing which also recurs in Bible in various verses. there. But because we converted to Buddhism, and because of the socio-economic situations, like these things didn't come. Like nobody told me. I don't remember. Nobody told me like whatever condition you are in, because it is because of this one. Because I think Ambedkar has gave us an answer long back during 1930s, that he made sure that we must know our history, we must know 1880, we must know Korega War, and that confidence came from that. So because society tends to do that, because it's like that, if you are in this condition, you must have did something, right? But it's something is simply physiological thing, right? So I mean, I did not come such kind of instances in which people told me, but there are so many complex things, and yeah, I mean, yeah. So the when people tell you that the mistakes you do sometimes are normal, right, which are normal, and if they relate those mistakes with your caste, your background, or basically that, so which means that they want to they don't want to talk about how it can be improved. They want to put you more down. So we are the society of the people who discourage each other. So this is simple thing. So it's a psychology now. Yeah.
Hi. So I just have a thought and would like your response on it. I was thinking that there's a textual body of work by Dalit Bahujan artists, cultural practitioners, and there is an economy around it. Digitalization would help that scale up faster. So when we talk of cost of production, VL talked about economic capital, social capital. Digitalization plays out in a particular way. But what you were talking about, Lakshman, at the beginning, of communicating experience in a certain dimension which cannot be captured by text. Could you talk a little bit about the market for that? Because I don't think when Yogesh is saying that Dalit market has grown, or the market for Dalit production has grown, it would be different of a textual body of work, and perhaps different for more bodily or affect, for a lack of a better word. It would be difficult to kind of get that kind of work growing. How do you get it to grow? The economic capital for that kind of production is quite different from the textual production. So, what do you think about that?
I really see lots of possibilities there. He was mentioning, right, if we think of black music or black performers, rappers and all that, there's so much capital there. They got so much of money from there and everything. But I really think in India, Dalit culture is not celebrated. There are two things there. So there is, I'm not saying each Dalit should accept their cultural heritage, because it's not single-sided, no. They were used as part of their discrimination. Parai, they're forced to play it. It's not their choice sometimes. But now, now, if I think of it, it has now everybody wants to, collect music instruments, for example. And if you see their collections, they don't have a array, they don't have parai, they don't have nadaswara. If we can build an economy, a network around that, that would really work. That really, we need to go back to, we should make sure how, all these people have taught us, how to appreciate music, how to appreciate painting, how to appreciate performance and all that. Then there should be tasks where we teach them how to appreciate pare, how to appreciate sobane, how to appreciate, and that should be my choice. If somebody wants to reject sobane or pare, they should really reject it. Go with the education, they should get into his job and all that. But now, like with my play, our play that we did, Daklakata, I think what is becoming more problem for Savarna audience is the attitude of the performance. Attitude of the performance, the attitude of the body. Like all these days we have seen Dalit bodies like this, even though they are well built, their muscle is so strong.
Submissive body.
Yeah, submissive, very submissive and like victimizing. We should change from there itself. And I really think Dalit body, I think that's source of their history also. It's an archive. Their voice is an archive. We should start to excavate from there. A lot. Because see, since we don't have so much written, and I really want to see excavate the history from their voice, their instruments, the rhythms of it, the stories, many things. So with this teaching this appreciation, and like of course as you mentioned, like I don't know how, like digitalizing these experiences or whatever. I don't know exactly how, but there is a possibility like we should convert into a capital. I really think like what Paranjit is doing in a way is that. I think we should start to think in those terms also. Yeah.
There is a lot of scope for Dalit subjects.
Yeah.
Everything.
And like yesterday, in 14th I was looking, now everybody wants to climb Jai Bhim, Everybody wants to say Jai Ambedkar. Ambedkar is our leader. Like, where were you all these days? People were killed just because they said Jai Bhim. Now you're coming and telling me that now Ambedkar is my leader.
And now they are trying to teach us how to say
Jai Bhim. Jai Bhim. Where were you all these days? Where people were killed just because they said Jai Bhim. When like Ambedkar name is becoming a capital, you want to like harvest it. Like I think these are really, Ambedkar name itself it has capital now. Because of all these years of work of DSS, Dalit Panthers, many other people, activists, artists, singers, street performers, they have really retained the name and the thinking and the imagination around Ambedkar. They are they should be the owners of these things. Not like some communists who are coming and like now they want to do films on Dalits. They really want to they really want to make some money, basically. Yeah.
See, Eleanor Joliet published her PhD thesis in 1970s. No, she did her PhD in 1970s, and she tried to publish her PhD thesis, and no publisher was ready to publish her PhD thesis. So, even though she is a foreigner, she waited till 90s, and now every publisher is trying to publish Dalit's work. They are so fascinated with Dalit's work. They are so fascinated with Dalit literature and all those things. You can take examples of academics. You can take example of politics. You can take example of NGOs. You can take example of anything. So Dalit. Subjects related to Dalits is, now it has got scope. Okay, everybody is trying to harvest, their profit now. And we should be very careful, sir. We should avoid, commodification of Dalit experience. That should not be done.
And in theatre also, all these things like playing these instruments and all that, it was generalized as folk theatre. It was folk theatre. These people were not given credits, for their wisdom, for their knowledge. That should be acknowledged.
Language also plays. The folk
means
people, basically.
Yeah.
Who are these people? Who is the one first created dolki, first created parai drum? Who is the first person who developed veena, sitar? Yeah. These are not your people who are so-called musicians, performers. These are our people who lived there with the nature, with the struggle of life. And from the struggle of life, from the beauty of that life, they understand the sound, the music of it. And they try to capture that through whatever, And also like the skin, the flesh was prohibited. It was considered polluted. So we are the first people who made musicians. I mean, so we need to interrogate histories.
Yeah, just I wanted to add one thing. See, whenever all these things were considered as service, their service, they were not paid for their job.
Chakris.
Yeah, service, chakris. And now, like all these things, they have capital, right? They don't want them to do that. People like other people should make money out of it. They're saying. Basically.
That's why, liberals like T.M. Krishna.
Yeah, exactly.
They are writing books about,
Subaltern and his sons.
Sebastian and his
Sebastian and his sons. I think we should think it as like now we have choice, right? We have choice whether I want to play it or I want to reject it. All these options should be there, and we should pick whatever we want. I really see a possibility in developing that network and like bringing that capital. Yeah.
I think we have time for one last question. Or maybe yes, two, 3 questions, and then we get closing. We can take it together.
Hi, I'm Tausif. So I was recently reading this book called Annihilation of Caste. And even though I don't believe in it, like in sense, like I inherited my parents' religion, right? I'm a Muslim by religion. So I want to understand whether this problem of religion and this problem of caste, do they have the same root? I want to ask that because if so, can the solutions be similar? Just a question, like what are your thoughts on, does one affect the other and vice versa?
Anybody wants to?
And in India, Christianity is not Christianity or Islam is not Islam. They are most casteist religions. Do you know in Karnataka when we conducted survey, there are more than 36 castes. Unfortunately, those who have urban experience, urban elite Muslims. And if you search your background, it may reach some elite or Savarna caste. So please go and search your roots. Then you will find definitely caste system in the Islam. And it is deep rooted. But it is overshadowed by saying that it is a monolithic religion. Same case in the Christianity also.
Also, just to add on that, Ambedkar even suggests a solution in that essay. What is your thought on that solution, like which is the demolition of the religion itself?
How do we demolish religion? How? So religion is not an object, right? It's not a wall. We can just go with the hammer and break it. Now, we need to think. We need to invest for at least decades and centuries what this demolition would mean. I want to annihilate caste. How? In Western University, there are big seminars on annihilation of caste or decolonization. How? I fail to understand. I fail to understand that how would I annihilate my own anger? Because it's not good. So just to annihilate small thing within me which is not good, I'm still trying to figure it out, and I'm talking about annihilation of caste. Whereas I don't even know all the names of the scheduled caste in Maharashtra. And it is the reality of each among us, not only Dalit Bahujan, but also Savarnas and the Brahmins. There are castes among Brahmins, and that this caste among Brahmins has a different originations, right? So how do we do that? It's because when Baba Saheb had written Annihilation of Caste, he observed this reality. It was a very explicit, very open, very overt reality, right? Now you're talking about religion and caste. Like before Christianity, caste was here. Before Islam came here to this society, caste was there. And caste was there for a long time. The rigidification of that caste has it has been a recent phenomena. So when caste and religion comes together, not that only Dalits or few Bahujans converted to Christianity or Islam, even Brahmins converted to Christianity and Islam. That is the story. But do we talk about that? When we talk about conversion, we don't talk about how Brahmins converted to Christianity, how Nambudris converted to Christianity, how Syrian Christian become they become Christian. So when these people, when the Brahmins convert, there is small booklets in Marathi. It talks about the conversion of Brahmins in Christianity there, and what kind of things they have transported, the local things. So they have literally adapted after becoming this Christian. They have literally forced their bhajans into Christianity. Exactly, in their music. So not only this is the one thing, like this is one music thing. They have basically transported their casteist idea into Christianity. And that is the reason we say, even though principally, have you ever heard about this word called equality, bhaichara, fraternity, brotherhood, love, compassion in religion other than Buddhism, Islam or Christianity? Whatever religion is there, have you heard about that religion talking about at least principally, So like Islam talks about bhaichara, brotherhood, like also it talks about the labor and the repayment of that labor, right? Small things, but very important, very human things, right? Christianity also talks principally, at least. But why these principles are never been reflected in our behavior? Because there are some churches which are owned by Syrian Christians, Nambudris who became Christians, and this is also the same with the religion which came later in India, right, and then became rooted here. So not only why there are some Muslims who lives in Malabar Hill in Bombay, and why there are some Muslims who live in Shivaji Nagar, where almost all of them are prone to TB for generations, because they live just beside the abattoir and they just live beside the biggest dumping yard in Southeast Asia. And there the Muslims live, there the Dalit Christians live, and there the Dalits live. So why religion did not succeeded in taking all the Muslims at equal footing is because there are caste realities, and which the religion did not address here. And obviously because Christianity and Islam did not originate in caste land, it originated in different realities, right? So that is the reason. So but about if you can read this book Masawat Ki Jang and Hindustan mein Jaat Paat aur Musalman, you can get your hands on those books. The reality of caste in Islam will be suddenly exposed to you in a very different way.
Pasmanda movement is going on.
Pasmanda movement came with these two books only, Anwar Ali's Masawat Ki Jang and Masood Alam Falai's Hindustan mein Jaat Paat and Musalman. Before that, no one talked about caste in Islam. I grew up thinking Islam is Islam. They are Muslims. They make biryani, they make good food, like that. But then you read, right? And once you start reading these books, you understand what kind of horror you are surrounded with. So people in caste society need this kind of book. If we need to survive, we need to flourish. First survive, because we hate if not love, but we hate each other so much. I mean, and we all of us know that. So we need to alter that reality, kill that thing first. So before annihilating the caste, we need to annihilate that hate for each other. So this is what you ask is it needs years of engagement to understand some basics of it. But these two books will be the, I think, yeah. And also, like, can I? So there are few books here for which Panthaspa publication has published. So if you are interested, you can get your hands on. I mean, only few books I carried. So, but I thought a discussion should begin from somewhere, right? So this is my work. This is something like I tried to do or create at Panthaspa publications, and I think that even there are variations with performance art and textual. This thing is that, like, like you can carry book with you, like you can't carry the play you watch. You can carry that play in your mind, but it's a different thing than carrying book in your pocket or hand. So you can read anywhere, like while eating or while just sitting, something like that. So yeah, but we need serious engagement. So yeah, I mean, if you are interested now, also try to get this book. Few books are here. So and yeah, so yeah, that's it. Yeah, so thank you from our side, and you will conclude. Yeah.
Thank you all for staying back. I think this is just one of the first conversations that we've organized in such a manner. I think it really worked. I think we should do more of these just to reflect and think. Thank you for making time and agreeing to be part of this conversation. If you need to speak more to any of them, you can, of course, after this, we'll be around. So they will be around, so you can catch up with them. Do leave your email addresses with Anushi, who has a book, in case you want to be on the Maraa list. And yeah, we'll see you guys soon again. Thank you very much. Thanks, Yogesh. Thanks, Lakshman. Thanks, VLN.